All right. Okay, so I'm super stoked. Today we're going to talk about efficiency. Efficiency is not about going faster, but it's actually about getting things done without a whole bunch of wasted time and energy and emotion and that sort of thing. So I've known people that they almost look like they're moving in slow motion. They're just really slow. However, they don't waste any time or energy, so they get more done. And it can be kind of confusing when you first see it. And hopefully you've had one of those people in your life. Efficiency is really about getting more for less. If you don't know, just for context's sake, the efficiency is the second E in the word created. So created is a framework. It is clarity. We're going to talk about getting your vision, your outcome, your impact all put together. Rhythm, the activities, the intensity, the frequency of your life so that you can go do cool stuff and have a really great outcome. Then we go into encouragement, how to deal with life when it punches you in the face, how to keep yourself up, and how to encourage other people. The encouragement factor is great because not only can you use it to benefit yourself, but you can use it to benefit other people. And who doesn't like a great encourager, right? So alignment. This one here can be fairly broad, but we can talk about getting in alignment with the things that you're good at, play to your strengths, and delegate things. We're going to talk a little bit about delegating today. Getting into alignment with God and His Word. We're going to talk about getting into alignment with others through really good communication. If you have people that they are downstream from you and your communication is kind of wonky and goofy, then it's going to be very difficult for you to get the kind of results from their work that you're paying for. I want you to kind of think of it as the alignment of maybe your spine. Say your knees are bothering you, your feet are bothering, your hips are bothering you, whatever, right? Those are downstream from your spine. So you could go to a doctor and he can look at your knees and he can say, wait a second. And then he looks at your back and says, hey, you know what? Your spine is kind of wonked up. And I noticed that you were walking a little funny. That walking a little funny is putting extra strain on one knee or both your hips or however, right? If you have a car and your tires are out of alignment, your tires are going to wear fast, your suspension is going to wind up taking on strain that it wasn't designed for, and your fuel efficiency is going to drop just off of your tires being out of alignment. The second T is, the T in the word created is about thriving. So we're going to talk about how to handle self-sabotage. We're going to talk about how to replace your old scripts. We're going to talk about how to embrace and enjoy the good life. Because how often have we run into people that life starts in this mad uptick and then they find some way to screw it all up? That leads us here, which is the second E in created, which is we're going to talk about efficiency. We're going to talk about how can we take what we're doing that's already winning and make it even better, create more room for more winning, right? Then after that, the D in created, which will be next week or the week after, because we do this in a cycle and then we go back and we do this in a cycle again. I do these monocasts here where I do a talking head video, and then I get people on the show that are experts, and we have conversations about these different topics. And then I have a friend of mine come through, and we sit down together, and we talk about the interview, we talk about the topic, and the thing is that the crosstalk between the two of us, the conversations that we have with people, all of these different perspectives are going to hit you differently. And so different people are going to wind up benefiting in really great ways from the conversations. So next time, we're going to be talking about daring. And when we were talking to Roland Betts 2 weeks ago, he had made a comment before we started rolling about how you're either thriving and you're improving or you're dying and getting worse. There is no plateau. And we talked about the lie that you could start mailing it in without any real penalty. And so what some people do is they wind up getting to a place where they're comfortable and they try to plateau, and it actually doesn't function. So what you need to do is get up to a great place. You start to feel something, and then you're like, man, you know what? We need to set a next level of goal and target, and that will cascade into a new rhythm, a new whole created framework. Okay, so the quote that I'm working off of for this talk is by Peter Drucker, who is the godfather of management. And this guy was crazy for efficiency. So the quote that I have from him is, efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. So you may be wondering why I would have this called efficiency instead of effectiveness. I went back and forth, but really I decided that we've already done so much of the work, having worked on our vision, worked on our rhythms, the things that we're going to do. We work on all of these things. This is where we do an audit, and we go and we take a look and we say, hey, let's look at what we're doing and see what things we can strip off that maybe shouldn't be done at all, things that we can delegate. We're going to be in the efficiency section. We're going to be talking in the future about working with assistants, working with virtual assistants, working with having extra people that will help you to get things done. So we've handled the right things. Now we're working on eliminating waste. So this, by extension, is effectiveness. Okay, so a lot of you guys are familiar with something called the 80-20 principle, which means that 20% of the things that you do create 80% of the value, which also means, by extension, that 80% of the things that you do don't really matter. One of the ways that we find our 20% is we're going to do an audit of our life. So one of the things that I like is I love these little tiny pocket-sized notepads that I can just write in. And one of the things that can be kind of a hassle is breaking the thing out every 30 minutes and writing down what I did. It's super helpful because sometimes you're going to start writing and you're going to be like, why am I even doing this? I never even really thought about what I'm doing. Now, this parallels a food journal. And in the same way that a food journal can be extremely helpful, and one of the things that we need to watch out for with like a food journal is that you can start out and you can write down, this is what I'm eating, and then stick it in your pocket, have your meal. And then what you'll do is you'll have that bag of cashews sitting around, you'll have some snack thing, and then you reach for it and you go, I don't want to even write that down. And then at the end of a couple days, 2-3 days, you're like, you know what? Okay, cool. So no snacking. Got it, right? The thing about this is that if you decide, oh, lessons learned, I'm super smart, and the thing is that when you do this, if you do this for like 30 days in a row, you're going to be not doing all of that snacking. You're going to actually start getting into the habit of not snacking just by virtue of writing this stuff down. The same thing holds true if you write down every 30 minutes what you just did for the previous 30 minutes. After a while, you're going to be doing stuff like, man, I don't want to write that down. I didn't even notice that I was doing that. I will stop doing that. Carry this thing through for a full 30 days, and you will see that there are some things that fall off already. Now, once you do your time audit and you've gone through and now you have this list, put together, these are the things that I'm commonly doing, and start categorizing these things. You're going to wind up finding that some of these things actually don't need to get done at all. And you can wind up starting to add 20 minutes, 30 minutes here and there. Pretty soon you've added some fairly decent time to your life. So what I want you to do is, now that you've got this laid out like this is what you need to do before you get all the way to the end, okay? You need to have a plan for what you're going to do with that freed up time. Because what'll happen is you will start inadvertently using Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law is basically states that whatever you say, this is how long it's going to take, that's how long it's going to take. And you will fill it up. So in the case of like meetings, if you say, hey, this meeting is going to take 2 hours, that meeting will take 2 hours, even if it should have only taken 1 hour. If you show up and you say, if you say, hey, this meeting is going to take 45 minutes, everybody's going to change their tempo and their pace and their intensity and prioritizing things to meet that, okay? So what I want you to do is, when you have found a place where you saved an hour, I want you to have something that you drop in there. So think about the things that would be high leverage items, things that you should be doing. This could involve everything from planning to reading to calling people on the phone. This could be sales, networking. This could be all kinds of stuff. Only you know what that is. But what it needs to be is a thing of value. That's what you're after. Your business is not paid by, or your organization isn't paid by the amount of time. It's paid by the amount of value that you generate. We are going to go through and we're gonna take a look at all of the stuff that's on this list, and we're gonna split this into 3 different categories. We're gonna put this into things that you need to just stop doing. Like, it's just stupid. You realize that you spent 20 minutes a day categorizing emails, and that's just dumb, because all you need to do is use the search feature and you can find them. So quit categorizing and shoving them into folders that it just doesn't matter, okay? I want you to put yourself in the seat of the person that you're delegating stuff to. It's important that you are fair with them, okay? If you've been doing something for, say, a couple of years, I want you to think back on way back when, 2 years ago, when you first started doing it. Are you better than you were back then? The answer is definitely yes, right? You didn't start out awesome. You've learned and developed, right? Now, if somebody would have come alongside you and said, hey, this is the best way to do it, you would have started out better, but you still would have been on a learning curve. Treat the people around you like they're capable of improving. Give them time, give them encouragement, give them support. Don't just, hand them something, say, go figure this out. Hand them something, show them how to do it, and then say, hey, if you need anything, let me know. And then go back and check on them, because sometimes they don't get it. They think that they're doing it the way that it's supposed to be done. You need to work on communication, okay? This would be falling into the category of alignment. When people are downstream from you, you need to have lots of really great communication. You need to encourage them. When they get it right, heck yeah, encourage that, reward that. These are the sorts of things that Craig Groeschel talks about all the time, and he's 100% right. One of the things that you can do that would be a mistake would be to take a task that you really love doing, that actually feeds you and gives you something, and delegate it to somebody else. If there's a task and you have the right and the privilege to determine whether or not you're going to do it, then you need to, like in some cases, it could be something that you could give away. It may even get done better, but man, it makes you really, really, really happy, and it gives you something. It gives you energy. It gives you enthusiasm. Some of these things, you're going to have to keep them. If they're things that you would, that if you gave it away, it makes you sad at the idea of giving it away, then don't be too quick to give it away. You may want to keep it. I've got some tasks like that myself. They feed me, they make me happy, and I would be sad if somebody else did them. Your physiology, your energy level matters, okay? Sometimes people will treat their bodies like it's a junker car that they don't want. And they'll just pump all kinds of crazy stuff into it that they wouldn't even give their dog. They wouldn't pour energy drinks into their dog's bowl and expect their dog to not have a fierce physical reaction, okay? Don't do that with you. I saw some meme the other day. It was this car that had obviously been rolled, and it was they were fueling it up, and the caption was something like, me pumping energy drinks into my body. And I thought it was sort of funny, except that, that I've done that myself. Now, what you eat, what you drink, how you sleep, how you recover, you need to really look at your life. This is part of the reason why we do the audits. You're going to do a second audit with respect to what you're eating, your sleep, and your food and drink. Okay? Now, don't do these simultaneously. It'll be overwhelming, and you'll just get cranky, and you'll probably quit. We will do these in separate months. Just do one, and then we'll come back and do the other. Okay? Now, with respect to things like sleeping, I used to resent sleep. I remember about the age of 20, there were so many things that I wanted to do with my life. The idea of sleeping just made me mad. I didn't want to do it. And then somewhere along the line, I came to terms with the idea that, you know what, I don't have a choice. I don't have an option. I tried to figure out how to nap. I was like, oh, well, naps are just lay down and go to sleep and then get up when you wake up and everything's great. And then I would wake up and I would be just exhausted and feel foggy, and decided that naps were stupid. And then somewhere along the line, I was listening to some sports radio program, and this guy made the comment that 15 minutes or 90 minutes and nothing in between. And I thought that that was interesting, and so I started experimenting, and I discovered that that was 100% true. That if I slept for 15 minutes, I felt great. If I slept for an hour and a half, I felt great. But if I slept for 45 minutes, I was groggy and dopey. If I slept for 2 hours, I was groggy and dopey. But I suggest that you experiment with the same thought process. You should experiment with blankets, with room temperature. When you have that last drink of anything with coffee, some people will drink coffee right up until they go to bed, and then they'll lay down and go to sleep. But most of the time, I'm of the opinion that they just lose consciousness. They don't really sleep. They don't really rest. And I think that there's a huge difference between losing consciousness and sleep and recovery. There was a time a while back where I had switched up the way that my blankets. So the blanket that I use, it's actually hardly a blanket. It's like a double thickness of sheet. It's really light. When I lay down and I pull that thing over me, I'm usually shivering. And then after about 30 seconds, I feel great. And I just go to sleep shortly after that, and I wake up and I feel awesome. There's a comforter on my bed, and I throw it back every single night. And for whatever reason, I decided to sleep with that comforter. And for 2-3 nights in a row, I woke up and I did not want to get out of that bed. I was still tired when I woke up. It was so warm, I just didn't want to get out of bed. And I made some comment to my wife, and she goes, well, you did just start sleeping with a comforter all of a sudden. And I realized that was the new thing that I had done. Not only do I suggest that you listen to your wife and consider what she has to say, but experiment with all of the aspects of your sleeping. That last drink of water, coffee, I do say just cut alcohol out of your life. And all of these sorts of things, right? Small changes actually do matter quite a bit. Okay, and like I said, we're going to experiment with all of these different things over a period of time. We're not going to do all of these things all at one time. We're going to work on them one skill at a time. This is one of the things that we work on with the idea of the C, getting clarity, having a vision, and the R, the rhythms. So we're going to set up like an annual calendar. This is the skill I'm working at this month, this month, this month, this month, this month. Then, if you're like me, where I want to do everything all at one time, and it's like the devil comes at me and says, oh no, you need to be doing this too, and you need to be doing this and this, and then I get confused and aimed in 5 different directions, and I'm not useful. It's not good. But if I've got this stuff up on a calendar, I can say, hey, you know what? Hey, devil, get behind me. I'm going to be working on that in March, and March will be here, and that's when I'm going to work on this. With respect to your prioritization, one of the things that my wife taught me, and this is about going through, now you've got this list of all of these different activities that you're doing, and you're realizing that some of this is kind of chaos. Are you familiar with a thing called a spaghetti drawing? Spaghetti drawings are for manufacturing companies and that sort of stuff. Basically, they'll take a map of the business, they'll have a top-down map, and they'll have all of the different equipment, and then what they'll do is they will take an employee, and they'll take a pen and they'll stick it on there, and they'll say, hey, where does this employee go, without lifting the pen, and they'll draw. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll find that they're making them walk around a piece of equipment, and they could just move the equipment 2 feet and save this guy 500 steps a day, save themselves an extra 10 minutes per day of just this guy walking around, which not only is that saving them 10 more minutes, that's gaining them 10 more minutes. So with that, one of the things that my wife did when she would go grocery shopping was she would have this, she had this grocery list that was on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that she had folded in half. And I noticed one time when we were out shopping that all of the stuff in the lower left was produce, upper left was bulk food, upper right was dairy, and then she had lower right was like bread and that sort of thing. And when we were shopping, I noticed, wait a second, this correlates to the geography of the grocery store. She really just writes this stuff down in a way that makes it so that she's way more efficient. I've done that at my workplace when I'm trying to put together a list of these are all of the things that need to get done. I start putting them geographically on this thing. And then I say in the morning, I'm going to be over at this location. Then I'm moving over here, over here, over here. And when I get over here, I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3 so that all of my decision-making is made prior and I'm just focused on executing. Now, one of the other things, if that isn't super helpful for you, one of the other things that I have worked with people to try to get them to prioritize their lives is to tell them, hey, you know what? Imagine you go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, you can only work 8 hours in a day. At 8 hours and 1 minute, you're going to die, your wife's going to be a widow, and all of your employees are going to be out trying to figure out what to do because you couldn't take care of yourself and you're a knucklehead. What's going to get done? Okay. Now, you can go to 8 hours. I think that that's still too much time. I like to go to 4 hours. I like to actually cut this thing way back. And again, this is leveraging Parkinson's law. If you say, hey, the most effective day of the whole year is the day before you go on vacation, right? Now, this was said in the 80s, before cell phones, before all of these different forms of communication, and work follows you to vacation. But the most effective day, the most productive day, is the day before you go on vacation. Because what you want to go out in peace. You want to go and know that everything that should have gotten done was getting done. And so if you treat every day like the day before you go on vacation, you're going to show up with a lot of enthusiasm. You're going to show up with a lot of what's the most important things? What are the things that actually need to get done? And if you show up like that, you will get more done. Now, with respect to the doctor's analogy, you need to treat it like your life is important, and you need to treat it like your time is important. This is a tool that will allow you to figure out your priorities. What is it that only you can do? What if you were told that you had 4 hours to get all of your work done? We'll also throw in an assistant that can work with you for 4 hours a day. So now this is an interesting idea. So now I can look at all of the things that only I can really do, or that I really get something out of and I really enjoy. Let's make our lives enjoyable, okay? And then I can delegate those other things. And I have found that some of the things that I am absolutely just the worst at, that I'm absolutely terrible at, I can delegate to people that actually enjoy putting little round dowels in little round holes and little square pegs and little square holes and those sorts of things that make me want to cry. They actually find a tremendous amount of satisfaction in that. So don't be afraid to delegate. Use one of these exercises to help you figure out what it is that you're going to do, and know what you're going to do with that new freed up time. What you don't want to do, again, is gain 4 hours and then screw it away watching YouTube, getting on social media, and doing extended lunches and that sort of thing. Already know what it is that would be awesome. One of the hacks that I used to figure out during COVID, one of the things that I used to help me better use my time, because suddenly I had massive amounts of free time because there was nobody buying anything. I said, hey, okay, so it's March, April, something like that. I said, what is it that I would be really frustrated with if November hits again, we're super busy, and I still don't know how to do it? And I realized, you know what? I would be really, really aggravated if I didn't know how to make a video. I need to figure out how to make videos for my business. And because I had all of this time, I just locked myself in the office and started marathoning through how to make videos. I got some software. I started playing with it. I started developing it, and I started getting halfway decent. It took me a long time to get good, but now I make a pretty decent video. Go through and figure out what it is that will create great value, because that's what we get paid for again. We get paid for value, whether that is creating systems, documenting things, reading and studying, creating processes, leading, networking, doing whatever. Whatever that thing is that would make it so that your time is better spent, go figure out how to do that, okay? Those right there are my tips on efficiency. If I miss something, if I overlook something, leave it in the comments below. If you know an expert that I should be reaching out to, that would be a really great interview on this program. They don't need to be famous. They don't need to be popular. I just need to know about them. Put their name down here, or have them contact and send me an email, adam@highcalibercoaching.org. Have them communicate with me, put their names down in here, tag them, send them the link. However, I want to interview people because 1 hour of my time, 2 hours of my time and their time can benefit people for years and years and years and years. That's the epitome of efficiency. When things are reworded and you hear two people have a conversation, that can make it so that something that you've heard in different ways clicks one day. And that's efficiency. And that's what this whole program is about. That's what the whole created framework is about. I will be happy and satisfied if I can shave 5 years off of the learning curve of 1,000 young men that are coming up, that are trying to shake off the lies and all of the things that they were mistaught as they grew up and came through school. I want them to overcome things that we all deal with, where we look back and we go, man, I just wish that somebody would have told me that 10 years ago. That's what this podcast is all about. How can I make it so that I am being that guy that I wished was in my life? All right? I'm Adam Funderburg, the owner of High Caliber Coaching. I will catch you later. Bye-bye.